just like everybody else, just like all y'all, I thought, damn, Vlad got Keefe D locked up. And then I did my research.
Like, your channel more or less solved the Tupac murder.
Yeah. My interview had an outline and a blueprint of the book that he wrote. So whenever he didn't want to answer a question, I'm like, well, but the book said,
yeah,
if you didn't want to talk about it, you should have written about it, is the way I look at it.
All right, Vlad, let's break it down. July 10th, 2019, this is the time, the date that Vlad interviewed Keefe D. Check out the views, right? Almost 500,000. So I want y'all to pay attention to that specific date, July 10th, 2019. It's going to be important because this is when Vlad first interviewed Keefe D on his platform. Now pay attention to what the police say. Two of them.
Mr. Davis's own words reinvigorated our case in 2018. I'm going to give you some of those details, and I'm going to introduce to you our homicide lieutenant, Jason Johansson, and he will provide you many of the details on how we got here today. Lieutenant.
Within the first few months of the investigation, our detectives knew most of the information I just briefed you on. However, we never had the necessary evidence to bring this case forward and present it for criminal charges. As time went on, this case had been reviewed multiple times by different investigators assigned to my section, but it wasn't until 2018 that this case was reinvigorated as additional information came to light related to this homicide. Specifically, Dwayne Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets. In our section, we knew at this time that this was likely our last time to take a run at this case, to successfully solve this case and bring forth a criminal charge.
So what I want to do is I want to take y'all to right here. February 15th, 2019 is when Keefe D's Compton Street Legend book came out. So here what you see. Compton Street Legend, Notorious Keefe D street level accounts of Tupac and Biggie murders, Death Row Origins, Suge Knight, Puffy Combs, and Crooked Cops, originally published February 15th, 2019. If you look at the bottom, you see July 10th, 2019. So that's 5 months essentially after. So when Vlad is saying this stuff, he's lying. He's lying. But I'm going to prove it further because the police said out their mouth, they said that in 2018, media outlets, that's plural. Let me show you who they talking about.
I'm the only one alive that really can tell you the story about the Tupac killing. You've been pursuing me for 20 years. Newspapers, magazines. I'm coming out now to tell the story because I got cancer. Got nothing else to lose. All I care about now is the truth.
Keefe D and his entourage. Along with Keefe D, the driver, a guy named Terrence Brown. Behind the driver is DeAndre Smith. And Keefe D's nephew, Orlando Anderson. He's sitting behind the right front passenger.
He said the Death Row guys were going to have a concert at the 662 Club. So we went to the 662 Club.
Let me help y'all out with these dates. You see, February 23rd, 2018. So if you look at Keefe D's photos, he's wearing two different clothes in 2018. These were the recordings that he was talking about. You see how this one has almost 4 million views? Vlad's doesn't even have 500,000 views. So what I'm trying to get y'all to understand is, respectfully, Vlad is lying. He would like to say he solved it, but he didn't. You know who actually solved this murder? It was already solved in 2002. And I'm going to tell you, Puffy will not be getting in trouble because Keefe D is lying on Puffy. Because Biggie was supposed to pay the $1 million. What they don't tell you is Biggie was in Vegas the night of. This is what originally solved the murder of Tupac. Notice the date, September 6, 2002. Las Vegas. The city's neon lights vibrated in the polished hood of the black BMW as it cruised up Las Vegas Boulevard. The man in the passenger seat was instantly recognizable. Fans lined up the streets, waving, snapping photos, begging Tupac Shakur for his autograph. Cops were everywhere, smiling. Shakur flirted with a car full of women, unaware that a white Cadillac had quietly pulled up beside him. A hand emerged from the Cadillac. In it was a semi-automatic pistol aimed straight at Shakur. Many of the rapper's lyrics seem to foretell this moment. The fast life ain't everything they told you, he sang in an earlier hit, Soldier's Story. Never get much older followed the tracks of Soldier. 6 years later, the killing of the world's most famous rap star remained officially unsolved. Las Vegas police have never made an arrest. Speculation and wild theories continue to flourish in the music media among Shakur's followers. What is that night? Owner of Shakur's record label arranged the killing so he could exploit the rapper's martyrdom commercially. Another persistent legend is that Shakur faked his own death to escape the pressures of stardom. A year-long investigation by the Times reconstructed the crime and the events leading up to it. Evidence gathered by the rapper indicates the shooting was carried out by a Compton gang called the Southside Crips to avenge the beating of one of its members by Shakur a few hours earlier. Orlando Anderson, the Crip whom Shakur had attacked, fired the fatal shots. Las Vegas police discounted Anderson as a suspect and they interviewed him only once, briefly. He was later killed in an unrelated gang shooting. The murder weapon was supplied by New York rapper Notorious B.I.G., who agreed to pay the Crips $1 million for killing Shakur. Notorious B.I.G. and Shakur had been feuding for more than a year, exchanging insults on records and at award shows and concerts. B.I.G. was gunned down 6 months later in Los Angeles. That killing also remains unsolved. Before they died, Notorious B.I.G. and Anderson denied any role in Shakur's death. This account of what they and others did that night is based on police affidavits and court documents as well as interviews with investigators, witnesses to the crime, and members of the Southside Crips who had never before discussed the killing outside of the gang. Fear of retribution, they agreed to be interviewed only if their names were not revealed. Revolutionary upbringing. The slang silenced one of the modern music's most eloquent voices, a ghetto poet whose tales of urban alienation captivated young people of all races and backgrounds. The 25-year-old Shakur had helped elevate rap from a crude street fad to a complex art form, setting the stage for the current global hip-hop phenomenon. Tupac Amaru Shakur was born in 1971 into a family of black revolutionaries and named after a martyred Incan warrior. Radical politics shaped his upbringing and the rebellious tone of much of his music. His godfather, Black Panther leader Elmer Geronimo Pratt, spent 27 years in prison for a robbery murder in Santa Monica that he insisted he did not commit. Pratt was freed after a judge ruled that in 1997 that prosecutors concealed evidence favorable to the defendant. Shakur's stepfather, Black Panther leader Mutulu Shakur, was on FBI's 10 most wanted list until early 1880s when he was in prison for robbery and murder. His mother, Afeni Shakur, also a Black Panther, was charged with conspiring to blow up a block of New York department stores and acquitted a month before the rapper was born. Shakur grew up in tough neighborhoods and homeless shelters in the Bronx, Harlem, and Baltimore. He exhibited creative talent as a child and was admitted to the Baltimore School of Arts, where he studied ballet, poetry, theater, and literature. In 1988, his mother sent him to live with a family member in the Bay Area to escape gang violence in Baltimore. Living in a tough neighborhood north of Oakland, he joined the rap group Digital Underground and signed a solo record deal in 1991. Shakur's debut album, Tupacalypse Now, sparked a political firestorm. The lyrics were filled with vivid imagery of violence by and against police. A car thief who murdered a Texas state trooper said the lyrics incited him to kill law enforcement groups, and politicians denounced Shakur. Then Vice President Dan Quayle, said the rapper's music has no place in our society. Shakur's recording explored gang violence, drug dealing, police brutality, teenage pregnancy, single motherhood, and racism. As his stature as a rapper grew, he pursued an acting career, drawing admired reviews for his performances in Juice and other films, but he never put what he called the thug life behind him. During the 1993 concert in Michigan, he attacked a local rapper with a baseball bat and was sentenced to 10 days in jail. In Los Angeles, he was convicted of assaulting a music producer. In New York, a 19-year-old fan accused Shakur and 3 of his friends of assaulting her. While on trial in that case, the rapper was ambushed in a Manhattan recording studio, shot 5 times, and robbed of his gold jewelry. Shakur later said Notorious B.I.G. and his associates were behind the attack. Shakur, convicted of the abuse, was serving 4.5-year prison term. When he was visited by Suge Knight, founder of Death Row Records in Los Angeles, Knight offered him to finance an appeal of his conviction, and Shakur would sign a recording contract with Death Row. Shakur accepted the offer and was released from prison in 1995 on a $1.4 million appellate bond posted by Knight. Hours later, Shakur entered a Los Angeles studio to record All Eyes on Me. The double CD sold more than 5 million copies, transforming Shakur into a pop superstar whose releases outsold Madonna and the Rolling Stones. 2 fights. On September 7, 1996, Shakur, still out on bond, traveled to Las Vegas to attend a championship boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand Hotel. The sold-out arena was jammed with high rollers, Wall Street tycoons, Hollywood celebrities, entertainment moguls. The fight also attracted an assortment of underworld figures, mobsters from Chicago, drug dealers from New York, street gangs from Los Angeles. Shakur arrived around 8:30 p.m. accompanied by armed bodyguards from the Mob Piru Bloods, a Compton street gang whose members worked for Suge Knight, Death Row Records. Shakur and Knight sat in front row smoking cigars, signing autographs, and waving to fans. Knock You Out, a song Shakur had written in honor of Tyson, blasted over the loudspeaker as boxer entered the ring. Tyson flattened his opponent so quickly that many patrons never made it to their seats. After congratulating Tyson, Shakur, Knight, and a handful of bodyguards in silk suits headed for the exit in the MGM Grand lobby. One of Shakur's blood bodyguards noticed a member of the rival Southside Crips lingering near a bank of elevators. The Bloods and Crips have a 30-year history of turf wars, beatings, drug heists, drive-by shooters. The Crips dressed in blue, the Bloods in red. When the 2 gangs weren't pushing dope or terrorizing citizens, they take pride in retaliating against each other. The hoodlum standing in the lobby was Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, 21, a Crip who had recently helped his gang beat and rob one of Shakur's bodyguards at a mall in Lakewood. Anderson had a string of arrests for robbery, assault, and other offenses. Compton police suspected him and at least 1 gang killing. After the beating of Shakur's bodyguard, Anderson had dared to rip a rare Death Row medallion from the man's neck and an affront to Knight's honor and a slight to the Bloods. The Bloods had been fuming for weeks, waiting to exact their revenge. Now, unexpectedly, there was Anderson standing before them. Shakur charged the Crip. "You from the South?" he asked. Before Anderson could answer, Shakur punched him. His bodyguards jumped in, pounding and kicking Anderson to the floor. Knight joined in too. Just before security guards broke up the 30-second melee, which was captured by security camera, Shakur and his entourage stepped triumphantly across the casino floor on their way out of the hotel. They walked half a block down the strip to the Luxor Hotel, where Death Row Records had booked more than a dozen rooms. After dropping off Shakur and the bodyguards, Knight drove about 15 minutes to a mansion he owned in a gated community in the city's southeastern valley. The plan was to regroup later at a benefit concert for a youth boxing program featuring Shakur and other Death Row acts. The midnight concert was to be held at Club 662, a night spot just opened by Death Row. The club's name was an emblem of how gangs had infiltrated the rap business. On a telephone keypad, 662 spells mob, planning a retaliation. A bruised and shaken Anderson gathered himself off the floor in front of dozens of startled onlookers. MGM Grand security guards and Las Vegas police tried to persuade him to file a complaint against his assailants, but he declined. Anderson headed out of the Strip and crossed over to a pedestrian bridge to the Excalibur Hotel, where he had checked in with his girlfriend. News of the beating swept through the gang underground before he reached his own room. Anderson pager was beeping with calls from his Crip cohorts, according to what he later told his associates. Anderson phoned his comrades and set up a meeting at the Treasure Island Hotel. He changed his clothes and hopped into a taxi, headed for the hotel with a huge neon skull and crossbones out front. Treasure Island had served as a Crips headquarters during boxing matches for years. The gang would rent a fleet of luxury vehicles, ride across the desert in a caravan, hand their keys to the valets, and head to a block of rooms booked under fake names. Drug trafficking paid for all of this. The ritual had little to do with boxing. Many gang members never attended the fights. They came to party and bask in the post-fight revelry. The ritual had little to do with boxing. Many gang members never attended the fights. Many came to party and bask in the post-fight revelry. The drinking, the gambling, the drugs, the prostitutes. Other street gangs followed suit, flying in from Harlem and Atlanta, taking over establishments up and down the Strip. By the time Anderson's taxi reached Treasure Island, more than a dozen gangsters were holed up in a Crips reserved room. Marijuana smoke clouded the hallway. Alcohol was flowing as Anderson opened the door. The gang was furious. The topic of discussion: who gets to pull the trigger? According to people who were present, the Crips decided to shoot Shakur after his performance at Club 662. The plan was to station 2 vehicles of armed Crips outside the night spot and lie in wait. The gang pulled in a call to a Crips hideout in Las Vegas, rented a house used to stash drugs and firearms, and shelter gang members on the run from crimes committed in Los Angeles. They told a man there to bring some backup weapons over to the hotel soon. Killers for hire. For the Crips, the beating of Anderson was an egregious affront warranting swift and fatal retaliation. Still, the Crips thought, why not make a little money while they're at it? They decided to ask Shakur's biggest enemy to pay for the hit. The gang arranged a rendezvous with Notorious B.I.G., the Brooklyn rapper whose real name was Christopher Wallace, hated Shakur and had been feuding with him for more than a year. Once tight friends, the two entertainers now ridiculed each other at events and interviews and on recordings. And one song called Hit 'Em Up, Shakur bragged about having sex with Wallace's wife and vowed to kill him. The threats between the rappers and their labels, Death Row and Bad Boy Entertainment, escalated into a series of assaults and shootings, one of which resulted in a killing of Death Row bodyguards in Atlanta in 1995. Fearing for his safety, a friend of Wallace arranged for the Crips to supply bodyguards for the rapper whenever he traveled west. Over the years, the gang was paid to provide security for Wallace at casinos and Las Vegas clubs, in Hollywood, and a award show in Los Angeles. Besides cash, Wallace gave the gang access to stars, groupies, and inner sanctums of the music business. Wallace began flashing Crip gang signs and calling out to the homies at concerts, sometimes inviting gang members on stage. Privately, he prodded the gang to kill Shakur, and he promised to pay handsomely for their hit. On September 7, 1996, the Crips decided to take him up on that offer. They sent the emissary to a penthouse suite at the MGM, where Wallace was booked under a false name in Las Vegas to party. He didn't attend the Tyson Seldon fight, but had quickly learned about Shakur's scuffle with Anderson. Wallace gathered a handful of thugs and East Coast rap associates to hear what the Crips had to say. According to people who were present, the Crips envoy explained that the gang was prepared to kill Shakur, but expected to collect $1 million for his efforts. Wallace agreed on one condition. A witness said he pulled out a loaded .40 Glock caliber pistol and placed it on a table in front of him. He didn't just want Shakur dead. He wanted the satisfaction of knowing the fatal bullet came from his gun. On the Strip, it was a gangster rap parade. Fans waved, women flirted, and asked for autographs. Photographers snapped pictures. Knight was leading a caravan of at least 5 death row cars headed toward Club 662. Shakir and Knight turned heads as the convoy proceeded slowly north on Las Vegas Boulevard. Around 11 p.m., police stopped Knight for cranking the black BMW stereo too loud and not properly displaying its license plates. Shakir and Knight joked with the officers and talked them out of issuing a ticket. Then the BMW turned right on Flamingo Road and headed east towards the club. Moments later, Anderson and 3 other Crips took an elevator to the Treasure Island lobby. They walked out into the valet parking area, hovering under the Hotel Skull and Bones logo. The 4 Crips waited silently as the valet brought out a 1996 white Cadillac and opened the doors. They piled in and eased the sleek new sedan into traffic. A 5th Crip, in an old yellow Cadillac, met them at the curb, followed them close behind. He rode solo with an AK-47 assault rifle lying across the front seat. The traffic in front of Treasure Island was bumper to bumper. Cars honked, billboards flashed, neon lighted, fountains trickled nearby. The driver of the white Cadillac lighted a cigarette. Behind him sat Anderson. The Crip in front of the passenger seat handed Anderson the loaded Glock from Notorious B.I.G. The 4 men discussed staking out the club where Shakir will perform. After waiting at a stoplight between Caesar's Palace and the Barbary Coast Hotel, the Cadillacs turned onto Flamingo and headed east towards Club 662. As they passed the Bally's Hotel on the right, the driver saw a caravan of luxury cars ahead of the left. The vehicles, packed with Bob Piru Bloods and death row employees, were stopped at a red light across from the Maxim Hotel. The crosswalk was filled with tourists. Leading the convoy was Knight's black BMW. Shakir was in the passenger seat. They were alone in the car, unarmed. The Crips couldn't believe their luck. They decided to chuck their plan and strike immediately. The Cadillac raced up on the convoy and pulled up beside the BMW. Shakir didn't notice. He was flirting with a car full of women in a lane to his left. I saw 4 black men roll by and a white Cadillac, said Atlanta rapper Edie Amin, who was in the vehicle directly behind Shakir's. I saw a gun come out from the back window through the driver's front window. Bullets flew, shattering the windows of the BMW. Shakir tried to duck into the rear of the car for cover, but 4 rounds hit him, shredding his chest. Blood was everywhere. We heard shots and looked to the right of us, Knight said. Tupac was trying to get in the back seat, and I grabbed him and pulled him down. The gunshots kept coming. One hit my head. In the chaos, neither Knight nor me could make out who had fired. The driver of the yellow Cadillac just behind him. The assailants never got a chance to fire his AK-47. It all happened so quick. It took 3 or 4 seconds at most, Mean said. Then the white Cadillac screeched around the corner. A bodyguard in a back of death row caravan fired at the fleeing sedan in a ruse designed to confuse Shakir's entourage. The Crip in the yellow Cadillac chased the white Cadillac around the corner as if in a hostile pursuit. Knight made a U-turn, his bullet-riddled BMW squealing around the concrete median. The death row convoy followed him back to the Strip, where he rammed into a curb. Las Vegas police were soon on the scene. After summoning an ambulance for Shakir, they ordered everyone else in the death row convoy out their cars at gunpoint. The police forced Knight, who was bleeding from the head wound, to lie face down on the pavement. By the time the detectives figured out that Knight and his caravan were victims, not suspects, the Crips had returned to the hotel rooms and gathered their belongings. Staggering their departures to avoid attracting attention, Anderson and his fellow gang members hit the highway, each in a different car. 2 younger gang members drove the white Cadillac back across the desert. Interstate 15 moves fast at night. It was dark when the Crips disappeared over the California border. Wallace returned to New York, where he recorded a CD called Life After Death, which has veiled references to the shooting in several songs. According to the Crips, Wallace paid the gang $50,000 of the promised $1 million through an intermediary a week after Shakir died. In March 1997, Wallace discussed his feud with Shakur during an interview with the San Francisco radio station. Asked whether he had a role in the rapper's death, Wallace said he wasn't that powerful yet. 3 days later, Wallace was in Los Angeles for the Soul Train Music Awards and an after party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. He was gunned down as he sat in his Chevrolet Blazer at a traffic light on Wilshire Boulevard. No one has ever been charged in the killing. 2 days after Shakur was shot, gang warfare erupted in Compton as the Bloods sought revenge on the Crips. A rash of drive-by shooting left 3 people dead, 12 injured, including a 10-year-old girl. Informants told police that Anderson had been seen brandishing a Glock pistol. Las Vegas police interviewed Anderson once. They said they could not build a case against him as Shakur's killer because witnesses in the rapper's entourage refused to cooperate with him. Anderson said he had nothing to do with Shakur's death. If they have all this evidence against me, then why haven't they arrested me? He said, a year after the shooting. It's obvious that I'm innocent. Anderson was shot dead May 29, 1998 at a Compton car wash, and a dispute police say was unrelated to Shakur slaying. The 3 other Crips who were in the white Cadillac that night in Las Vegas still live in Compton. None of them has ever been questioned by police about the crime. You want the truth? The truth is Vlad didn't solve it, but Vlad can take a victory lap and say that he helped. At maximum, I will say that he helped, but Vlad even said that the police reached out to him to try to get raw footage from stuff that's unedited and blah, 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 and some more stuff. But the problem with what Vlad is saying is Vlad even said out his mouth, his questions came from the book that Keefe D wrote. So I need y'all to reference that before y'all start to come at me and tell me how wrong I am. That's number one. Number two, Diddy has nothing to worry about because honestly, it was all big the whole entire time. Some of y'all never even knew that. I guarantee you Vlad didn't even know that. Vlad never seen that Los Angeles Times article. Because if he did, he would have referenced that. But it's cool. This ain't a diss, this ain't a slight to nobody. I get why y'all believe that Vlad solved it, but Vlad did not. The police referenced two of them. They referenced 2 damn interviews. The interviews were already out a year before Vlad even reached out to Keefe D. Keefe D then puts out the book, then here comes Vlad. But y'all telling me Vlad 500,000 view goddamn interview was the one when it happened in 2019, opposed to what 2 officers said? Now, I will admit, on paper, police do lie a lot and everything like that. But it's kind of hard when the evidence is sitting right there to see exactly what and where they reference. And if we're going to blame Vlad, blame the art of dialogue, blame Bomb First, and blame everybody else that interviewed this man too. Because they're using his words that he wrote. But y'all, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Share to keep your people aware. I just gave y'all some information that's been sitting and waiting to be unveiled like devastation. I'll catch you on the next one. Enjoy your Saturday.
They used to say, words couldn't hurt me. Videos, just my name, they getting thirsty. Go ahead and put them in